Welcome back, guys, to the MVM Show. I'm Tyus, your host, and I'm here with a very good lifelong friend, Colton Driscoll. And you've been on here before. I guess you said that was 3 years ago, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that a lot has changed since then.
Yeah, and that 3 years has been a lot of changes for me.
So we'll try to walk through that. We'll just kind of backtrack and kind of try to go through that. But I do want to cover some duck hunting stuff because we've been doing a lot of other type style stuff. So I'd like to throw a little bit of duck hunting stuff in because I know you guys all love that stuff too. But, you know, it's just in the off season. It's nice to throw the off season type style niche stuff. But there's some new addition. You got a couple new things getting ready. Well, one's already happened. A new addition to the family.
Both of them were surprises.
So let's talk about the more important one. So you are now going. What has happened since the last episode as far as relationship?
Relationship wise, got married. Started dating actually I think it was right after our podcast, just a couple weeks.
Oh, was it really?
It was soon after, yeah.
Huh.
And then we got married, and then now we found out 15 weeks ago we're expecting our first. He's gonna be a little boy, so
Congratulations. Oh, I did. Violet told me that was gonna be a boy, so
yeah, she was at the
congratulations
house
on that.
when
Oh, she was?
she was at our house, my mom and dad's house, when we told them.
Oh no.
She was
Did she go blab it to everybody?
no, because we went and told Kami's parents right after. So
Okay.
I sent them a text and said you're good to.
So when's she due?
She's due December 4th is the official date. So
December 4th.
tomorrow makes 20 weeks, the halfway mark.
Okay.
Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Has she got morning sickness and all that?
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
She's had one time where she threw up. It was actually Sarah told her, I guess certain words would trigger her in her pregnancy and make her sick. And Kami was like, "That's weird.
Yeah.
Never heard that before." And then we were watching a video, and some guys were eating. They did orange juice and toothpaste, and the guy said it's chunky. And as soon as he said chunky, she jumped up and ran straight in the bathroom, and was
Really?
just puking her head out. But that was the only time she's had any kind of sickness.
Dude.
Just tired.
Yeah.
But
Tired.
halfway through, it's going by quick. We found out at 4 weeks, and it's already 20 weeks.
Right. Feels like you just found out, huh?
Yeah, it's still hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah. It really is. Then when you hold them in your arms, you're like, I can't believe this.
Yeah,
Like, I created this? Like, how's that even this trip?
I'm scared to death.
Yeah. You do great, though. Got a lot of good people and good support around you.
Oh yeah, we couldn't ask for more.
Yeah.
Just
So-
talking to friends at work with their kids, and I'm like, we're blessed beyond anything.
Because they don't have people, huh?
They're struggling to find a babysitter. I mean, their marriages are a wreck and all that. So, yeah, we're blessed.
Yeah. So what's the other addition?
Well, I'm sure you guys have seen him, Nathaniel. He had pups, and then for weeks on end, he's been trying to get me to buy one, and told him, I'm just going to hold out. You're going to give me one here soon. I won't have to buy one.
I won't even have to buy it.
I was like, I'm going to get you down in price. And then we came up here with no intention of didn't cross our mind to buy a pup. I've wanted to for a while. And then he told me the price, and I was like, I can't pass that up. I looked at Kami, and she was like, we'll see. And when she said we'll see, I was like, oh.
You knew there was a chance.
Okay. That's more than I've ever got before. And, so we've now added a little, now I think he's 9 weeks now. Now we call pup.
What'd you name him?
Ranger. So, yeah.
So Colton got one of Kelly's pups. She had 11 in her litter, and
It's Rocky's grandson?
yeah, be Rocky's grandson. So it's kind of cool. Like, I'm like, yesterday I called Rocky King David. He's got the lineage passing down. I said, hopefully he doesn't get too crazy on that part of King David. But it's kind of cool, though. It's cool to see that little lineage. You've had the high tests. Two or three of your labs have been high tests.
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah. Other three weren't.
They weren't. Where'd you get those from?
The first one, Ruger, I don't remember when my parents bought her. I was 7.
Oh,
and then we got shotgun because we had heard of a young guy. He had pups. The mom, which was his absolute baby, got into rat poison, killed her. So he had been bottle feeding them, and they were about 10, 12 weeks old. And he was basically he needed to get rid of them because he was a single guy trying to take care of these pups. And I went there, and he was on charge $200 for him. He was AKC registered and
Really?
everything.
Because you just need to get rid of
He
him.
had to get rid of him, and I walked in, and he was like, "Here you go, bud." He just gave me the pup. We didn't even charge
Really?
him for him. So that's where we got.
And you were
him.
7?
I was probably 10 at that time.
Oh.
Yeah.
You talking about Ruger?
That was Shotgun.
Shotgun.
And then Roxy was their pups.
Oh, that's right.
She tried to nurse him when she was little, Shotgun, and he didn't like that. So
Really?
he nipped her in the jaw. He broke all of her jaw. So
Wait, she tried to nurse him?
Uh-huh.
How old was he?
He was probably 4 years old at that time.
And she tried to nurse him?
Yeah, Roxy was just a pup. She was like... Ruger,
she tried to...
Ruger had weaned them off, and she wanted to go in for a little treat, and he didn't like that.
I'm assuming he wouldn't... I imagine why he wouldn't like that too much.
Yeah. She bit him in the wrong spot, and he snapped her.
Dude.
Yeah, he broke her jaw. So
I didn't realize that was what that was from.
Yeah. It broke her jaw, and then she had to go have surgery.
That's such a bummer.
And it took all her top layer of teeth off, which worked out duck hunting because she had a really soft bite because she had no teeth on her upper left side.
Dude.
So her whole life she had metal in her mouth her whole life.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, how old was she when Shotgun did that to her?
Man, she was probably 6, 7 weeks old.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That was kind of a devastating blow then.
Yeah, but I ended
At
up
the
keeping
time.
her. She ended up being my best dog.
Yeah,
ever,
Roxy?
So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Best duck dog and probably dog in general, huh?
Oh, yeah. She was my baby.
That was sad. I remember when we would leave, if I was come getting you or whatever, and we'd leave, she'd be crying in the back.
She like wailed.
Sad.
She wanted duck hunt so
all
bad.
the way till you got back, huh?
Mm-hmm. My mom said all day long she sat at the fence and cried because she didn't get to go.
That's sad.
Yeah, I feel bad.
What was the hardest dog losing for you? I mean, they're all not Roxy.
Well, that had the circumstances of the wreck we had in the past with me, my dad, and Johnny and Jack, and so all that was going on at home, and she died about a month after the wreck. So it was just like one thing after another right there that she died.
Yeah.
But so that she was by far my hardest.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ruger was hard because she was the first. Shotgun happened.
And you were little when you guys got her.
I was 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So and how old you were? Probably 17 or something when she died.
She was.
Or 19 even.
I was probably 19, 20 when she died. Yeah. She lived to a good old age. She never hunted. She was just a backyard dog.
Yeah.
I wasn't even hunting when I got her.
Right.
So.
Because you were still pretty young.
I was 7.
But you started hunting not long after that, though, right?
I was 11.
11, okay.
Travis took me the first time when I was 11.
Okay.
I actually didn't even have my license yet. He just took me out for the day. And then the next year I got my license and started hunting with him.
Yeah. So, how old are you right now?
27. I turned 27 last week.
And Talon's only 20. You're that much older than Talon.
Talon's 23, 24.
You're more than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then really right when you started, it's kind of Talon. He got Talon even earlier just because you were going and it's his son. Whatever.
Talon started going with him when he was, I think Travis said 7 or 8. But he wasn't shooting.
Right.
I think right after I got mine, Talon got his a year or so later.
Yeah.
And we started shooting from there on.
Mm-hmm.
Made it a lot more fun.
So what's your plans for training Bruce? They've been calling another pup over there. Ranger, what's your plans for Ranger as far as like training stuff? So Ranger's Black Lab, Mel, and AKC, Rocky's granddaughter, Kelly's litter, and Kava, which is a friend of ours. I introduced Nathaniel and him together. His name's Nate. Anyways, what's your thought process? Like, do you feel like you're going to be able to be pretty serious training them, or do you feel like it's going to be, you just kind of get them to a point and be like good with that, or?
No, for him, I'm going to be a lot more serious. I wanted to do it with my last lab, Timber. Mm-hmm. We sent him to high test for their gun dog program, and that was more just the basics, and I wanted to go a lot further, but I got into nursing school and life just kind of took off, so I couldn't, and then he had to retire early. So with Ranger, I plan to, hopefully, I'm going to go through, is it Chris Aiken, you said? Don't want to do his whole program with him. And now that I'm out of school and everything, I can just be a lot more consistent, a lot more hands-on with him. Hopefully, I'm hoping he gets me back into duck hunting because I've had a little bit of a break the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, working hard. I will say this, I can't ever imagine. You've had duck dogs on, and I have. So you losing some precious members of the duck community in your side of the house as far as dogs go, I could see how it totally takes the wind out of your sails.
It didn't. It wasn't even fun. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I love hanging out with my friends
Yeah.
and all that. But the whole point of me going, I love to go work my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I could go all day with not even shoot as long as I could work a dog. I loved it. So once Timber got hurt and he was out of the hunts, I got busy with school and then I just didn't really care to go.
Like you said, it's all timing based. Everything in life's like timing. It's things. Sometimes we don't choose to do things a certain way, but the way the timing is, you can't really help it.
Yeah.
And you've been slammed with school, but now how have you been a nurse? About a year now.
April made a year.
April made a year. So
a little over a year, yeah.
Well, I didn't want to leave the dog thing and the hunting thing too much, but I mean, how's your schedule now at work for hunting?
Well, I'm lucky at my job. I'm self-scheduling, so I have to do 4 weekend days a month. So usually I'll do three Saturdays and one Sunday because I don't want to miss church on Sundays. But that leaves me open for Wednesdays. So that's usually what I'll do. Which is
the more day I enjoy more.
Oh yeah, I love Wednesdays. So usually I'll schedule myself around work. I'm required to do 6 in a 2-week period, so 3 days a week, and then I'll usually do 4 for extra shift. But that still leaves me wide open for at least one Saturday a month and every Wednesday if I want it. So we'll see how it goes this year.
Which really is a good schedule. I mean, maybe not the weekends so much. Is that because you're newer?
No, it's everybody.
Everybody does.
Everybody has
to do a weekend.
4 weekend days a month.
But that's every weekend, though.
Usually they'll do 2 weekends. So they'll do a Saturday, Sunday, 1 weekend on, 1 weekend off. That's what most nurses do.
Oh, that's kind of good. You can't do that?
I could if I wanted to, but like I said, I don't want to miss. The fewer Sundays I miss, the better.
Yeah.
So I'll do 3 Saturdays. And Kami, she works Saturdays too. So
okay,
it works out fine.
I forgot what Kami does.
She's a waitress.
Oh, that's right. At
Jansen, Merced.
So she's been there a while, huh?
Yeah, about 3 years. Yeah. Since before when we started dating, she went there.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see the training for Ranger and what you do with him and how you like that program. And just if you need any help, or Nathaniel or me or and you've trained dogs and done stuff with dogs, so you know, obviously, but it'll just be fun. It's fun to see how that dog's character is going to be, how his nose is going to be, how his temperament's going to be. You know, you hope it don't whine, you hope it don't do certain things, and my biggest thing is this line with Rocky is their nose. Like, Roxy had an incredible nose, if I remember right. And to me, what we hunt in is a little more important than speed, right? Well, it's a lot more important. 100%. That's why sometimes on this wide open stuff, I was like, I wish Rocky was a little faster. But then at the same time, I'm like, man, I will take him sniffing out of the toolies, a mallard that's in there any day over speed, right? Because think about all the birds he would lose without that.
It was kind of a struggle for me switching from Roxy to Timber, because Roxy was more of a natural. I didn't teach her anything in reality.
Slow and methodical.
Yeah, but she knew herself. She'd go into a tule patch and just do back and forth, and she'd find the bird. She was naturally gifted at that. Whereas when we sent Timber off to high test to be trained up north, it's all more open. They didn't do a lot of that kind of work. So when I got him back, unless he could see it, it was really hard to get him to go through the tules. He would do it, but nothing like her. And to me, it kind of got frustrating because, like you said, where we hunt down here, you need that. And it was different hunting 2 different dogs.
Yeah,
like that part of it, I really missed. Hunting Roxy.
You hunting them together?
No,
or you
I
mean just the whole personality traits and everything?
Because Roxy would sit there for hours and hours. They didn't care.
Yep.
And like you said, she was like, I heard you say Rocky, he won't be fast. She would walk to the bird, walk back. She was not fast at all, but she just loved being out there. And in the tules, I mean, we'd walk out there in the middle of the night. I looked down at my side. She would have a bird in her mouth from somebody else had wounded a bird. She just loved to go through the tules, and she'd run back and forth forever. She'd find them 50 yards from where I was. I thought she was being stupid in a different part of the tules.
Right.
I'd call her over. She wouldn't come. And I look out the tules, and here she comes with the
And
duck.
you've been with me and seen Rocky do that.
Same
like,
thing.
what are you doing, dude? Remember the cinnamon we found at the very end of that one hunt video?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Jake told me Kelly has done it too. She'll take off in a different direction. He's thinking, dumb dog, and then here she comes with the bird.
Yeah.
You got to trust him.
And I've noticed that's one thing about our hunting relationship with the dog is you learning to trust them and them learning to trust you.
Oh yeah.
So like, for instance, when something's lost and they're sniffing around and you could tell the way their body language is that they're on a bird, learning that you got to learn it because at first you don't know if they can do that or not because they're new, right? They're young. But once you do know, I fully trust Rocky. I don't question. If he goes that way, I'm like, I let him. I just stand back and wait. Because sometimes they'll pop out the other side while he's finding him, right? So you're like, if he goes on that side, I'm going to go over here and just watch, make sure nothing sneaks out the back door. And it was hard for a couple years before I realized, okay, I trust him. And what I noticed on his side of him trusting me, the hardest part was his hand signals. When I did see where it went and he didn't, and it was open water and I was trying to send the right, I seen it. I seen the times when he would start realizing, he knows what he's talking about. I got to listen to him. Yeah. Because he would, like, say if I sent him on a line, it was a blind retrieve, right? I would say rock or back or whatever, and he'd be going, and he had that word. He's veering off to the left, and I would whistle stop him and then send him over to the right. When he was first learning and being stubborn, he would go that way. I would send him for a second, and then he would spin back around and try to go that way. I'd stop him again. When he would find that bird where I said it was, it was like next time he didn't do that. And so it's neat to see that, but some dogs are stubborn too.
That's the part of training I'm most nervous about. I've never trained a dog with hand signals, and I really want to with him.
Dude, it's so clutch. It's like you don't use it every time, but when you do use it, it's so nice. Yeah. And this ain't the only reason, but it does save a lot of steps. Like, I still have the habit of walking out there, way out there, right? If it's way out there, and you're like, why am I doing this? I don't need to do this. Like, I can literally stand right here and give him hand signals. Yeah. The only thing he's weak on because of me, any dog that's weak on something, it's the owner, not the dog, right? But what he's weak on is his backs. Like, when you do your right hand back, he should spin that way and then if you do it left, it's this left hand. But I'm like, if he goes back, that's one place I just kind of let it slide. Yeah. I was like, as long as he goes back, then I'm just kind of not going to be picky, but I know that won't fly if you were doing tests and stuff. But anyways, I'm excited for you, man. That's going to be cool to see. So, talking about, it's getting a little, by the way, this is number 4 of the Camping Chronicles. We did these Camping Chronicles 2024. Beautiful scenery, beautiful weather, a lot better than 110 in the valley. It's, how did you say it right now? 75, 80? About that. I mean, in the shade it is. Probably if you sat in the dead sun, you'd be warm. But anyways, if you want to watch on the YouTube channel, you can, the MVM Show, and you can kind of see, we're in the shade, stay out of the sun. It's a little, probably not the greatest looking screen right now, but anyways, I have a whole lot of these coming to you. I'm hoping to do 10 to 15. I said 20 before I left. I know it ain't going to happen, but anyways.
This is number 4?
Yeah, it's only number 4.
You have a lot to do in the next few days.
But, yeah, I know. And if we go to Gray's tomorrow, I ain't doing nothing. I would like to get a couple more tonight. That'd be 6. I'm getting there. Yeah. But we got some really good ones, guys, coming to. All the ones we've already done have been really good, in my opinion. And then, so stay tuned. You're going to see these for a while. I might mix in Jimmy Mueller in because we have some episodes where we want to do some Q&A for you guys. So we'll probably kind of sprinkle those in with him in between these. So if you see us jumping around, but there'll definitely be plenty of these. But let's go into your, so 3 years ago, you were an EMT. How long have you been an EMT at the time?
I don't think I was an EMT. I think I was in the ER.
Training?
I was in the ER at that time, ER tech.
Okay.
I had been on the ambulance.
Before that?
Before that, yeah.
Really?
I worked as a CNA, and then while I was working as a CNA, I switched to, did my EMT program, went to the ambulance in Fresno, and...
So when we did that podcast, you had already been in Fresno?
Yeah.
And you already left that?
Yeah.
Did you ever tell that story of that one crazy scene
I think I did. I'm pretty sure.
And I kind of want to hear it again, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Do you remember it vividly?
Oh, yeah.
Burned into your brain?
Vividly.
So start from the beginning of that, before that you got that call. So are you just kind of sitting in the bus waiting?
we were sitting on the rig. It was towards the end of our shift.
Of course.
I think we were working a 24-hour shift and it was me, the paramedic, and I was actually with my FTO, field training officer at that time. So he was letting me kind of take over the EMT role and just watch and see how I did. At that time, he would just sit in the back with a paramedic. He'd just let me go, and it was on the tail end of a 24. It was the middle of the night. We got a call about a shooting in a the rough part of Fresno, and on the way there, we got another call from the PD saying, hold up. There's still,
Scene's not secure.
Yeah, it's not secure. There's still an active shooter. So we held up there for about 30 minutes, and they called us in, secure, go and head in. We get there, and apparently it was a block party, and that was at the time when all the riots were happening. It was full-blown, it was white versus black at that point. It was bad.
Mm-hmm.
And on the ambulance, it was me, like I said, the other two, we were all white guys. And then we got there, about 4 policemen, all white, paramedics. The firefighters, same thing. And like I said, it was in the rougher part of Fresno, and it was all African American. And they were all in their mid-20s, late teens, early 20s. They'd been going for hours. They were all high, drunk. And apparently, an 18-year-old girl got caught up in the middle of a drug deal, and they shot her about 7 times with a AR. And we pulled up, and as soon as we stepped out of the ambulance, one of the police officers grabbed me and just said, like, you stay right beside me. Walked me to the back doors because I had to open them to let the paramedic out. And as soon as we did that, they just easily 100 plus came swarming around the ambulance, screaming, just more hate than I've ever seen in my life. We got escorted through them because the firefighters were already on scene doing CPR. Paramedic, we worked on her for a little bit, couldn't get her back, and it was so bad. Everybody's trying to swarm us.
As we were working
them, yeah.
Was this outside?
Yeah, it was right outside the house. We didn't know at the time. We learned later that all the shooters were still in the crowd, and the house had just been riddled with bullets. We worked on her for a little bit, and the paramedic just looked up and said, we cannot stay here. This is getting bad. Because of the police officer were just pushing him back. To this day, I said, thank God, not
was
one.
Was that when George Floyd happened?
Yeah, right after George Floyd.
Oh, okay.
That's why I say it was bad then. That's all we could bring up. You hear him yelling the whole time about George Floyd.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Oh yeah, they were screaming that we were the one that killed her, but that we weren't doing our part, and we were just like, we cannot stay. And like I said, I'm glad to this day that not one police officer pulled their pistol to try to keep somebody back, because
thank God.
It would have been
a full-out war.
It would have been bad. It would have been really, really bad. We loaded her up, and it's not funny at all. We were like kind of gritting our teeth afterwards, because when we put her on the gurney, and it was kind of like the driveway and then just the dirt, and when we started wheeling her, our stretcher hit the dirt a little bit and almost dumped her, and we were just like, thank God that didn't happen, because that would have
sent it into a frenzy.
It would have been bad, because they were already saying we weren't doing nothing.
Was there probably people videoing, huh?
Oh yeah, there's cameras out everywhere. So we were just like, thank God we did not dump that ambulance. There's actually one of the paramedics told me later he found the video somewhere.
Online somewhere, huh?
Yeah, they got online.
Just trashing you guys, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're there.
Yeah, trying to help. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And we wheeled them where they were. Everybody was swarmed the ambulance. They were pushing them back. They were trying to grab us. The police officers were pushing them back. Guard to the ambulance. They started beating on the ambulance, trying to get in. Jumped in, and like I said, I was a new EMT at the time, not from Fresno, and I got in, and our GPS system had went down. I was like, shoot, this is going to be hard to even get back to the hospital, because I was still learning the streets. So thank God, I yelled at my FTO in the back, so he kind of leaned up and was just, go here to get out of here. On the ambulance, we could, go above the speed limit, but we were still restricted on how fast we could go. Got to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, they had followed us and actually beat us to the hospital. They were all along the sidewalks trying to scream at us. And we pull into the trauma bays, and they were all lined up. They had security lined up there just pushing them back. We got her in, and they called the code within like 5 minutes. They knew at that point there was nothing you could do. She was literally just riddled with bullets. But they made us stay at the hospital for about another 2 hours past our shift just to make sure we weren't followed home because they were all wanting us. So yeah, that was one of my last, probably definitely my craziest call, but one of the last ones I was on because shortly after that I went to the ER in Turlock because for the work as an EMT they wanted you full-time hours, and it wasn't possible. And I couldn't make my own schedule either. So once you're locked in, you're locked in. They wouldn't work with my school schedule at all. And they actually wanted me to quit my nursing program to go in to be a paramedic. And I was just like, no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, no way.
So that shortly after that, I was off the ambulance and went to the ER. But I had just started the ER when we did the last podcast.
Okay.
And I'm still at the same ER, just switched roles a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, so now fast forward, we're here. So you've been working as a nurse for over a year. Is it? I mean, you obviously had experience being in there, ER tech. So you weren't going into nothing blind and like where you haven't seen things already as an ER tech. But working as a nurse now for over a year, is it what you thought it would be, and do you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's what I thought it would be. It's a little more stressful than I thought because obviously as a tech, you have the patients, but they're not your patients. As a nurse, you're over the patients and you're very much responsible for what happens to them. The role of like leadership changes dramatically at that when you switch roles. I love it. Some days I don't love it. I text Kami several times a month, like, why in the world am I even here? Do I want to do this? And she just says, because you know you love it. And the next day I'll go back to work and fall in love with it all over again.
Is it bad? Is it bad? Patients, not bad as in they're bad people, but bad calls that makes you feel that way?
It's more of difficult patients because obviously the trauma calls, the codes, I love. That's what we do it for.
Yeah.
But it's more so the drug addicts, the alcoholics, homeless that aren't there, that shouldn't be back there, and they're milking the system. And I mean, you walk in the room, they're cussing you out the whole time you're there, wanting to fight. And after a while, it just gets
old.
It gets old really quick.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're not paying me enough to get cussed out every time I go in your room. But it's part of the job. And then you get that one patient who's not like that, who's very grateful and loves you and reminds you why you do it. But the codes and that kind of crazy stuff is what makes it fun. We have a good group that we stick together pretty good.
Yeah. You get tight.
Oh, yeah, very much so. You experience things with them that you never will with any of your other friends.
Tragic events.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Yeah.
Which makes you tighter than you can be in any other job. You know, I feel like.
Very much so. Like, I talked to my sister Megan. She's an oncology nurse at Valley Children's in Madera. So we'll talk quite a bit because we both see stuff and we can, connect with it. I'll talk to Kami, but even with her, sometimes she doesn't fully. It's hard for her to understand, I guess, because she's not in that environment. So unless you talk to another nurse or somebody who's been in there before to really understand what it's like. But, you bond with each other very, very tight. I'm sure you guys, even as a pilot, you did with the nurses and medics.
Yeah. I've always said that the hard things is what brings you closer together. So whether you're digging a ditch with somebody for every day, 8 hours a day for 2 years, that's hard, right? And it's not fun, but you get tighter that way because you're going through hard stuff together, or you're going through tragic events like you see, and people dying, or people coding, or people screaming and cussing you both out, and you become tight, and you have that, like, bond. Oh, there's a word for that. There's actually a phrase for that. They call that. That's why people in that industry, your industry and stuff that I've done, military big time, it's a trauma bond. I think that might not be the exact term, but that's the same thing. And it's weird. There's no possible way those people that I worked with will ever not be close to them. It's just not possible because you can't talk. You can talk to your wife, you can talk to your spouse. They're just not going to understand it.
Yeah,
and it's not a bad thing. That's just reality.
I prefer she doesn't.
Right. yeah, why do you want to put them under that junk? Um, so obviously, HIPAAs, you gotta be careful with all that. So I don't know how much you can say, but like, what have you dealt with, um, now in this last year that was challenging for you or tough for you?
Uh, a lot of it is more so as like the nurse. As a tech, you could go in there, you help your nurse, and then you get to leave the room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as a nurse, you don't get it. If you get a code or you get like a ICU patient, you're not leaving. You're in there. I've been in like a one-on-one room with the ICU patient for 7 hours straight. Never got to leave the room. You don't get a bathroom break. You don't get any kind of breaks because you're managing their pumps, all their drips, and you're just watching their vitals to make sure you keep them. You're just keeping them alive as best you can. So that part of the job to me was the stress level, just the anxiety level of trying to keep them, basically just keep them alive,
Mm-hmm.
is a lot different. It's like I said, it's different when it's your own patients.
Mm-hmm.
We got 12 weeks of orientation as a new grad nurse, which I had awesome preceptors. They were amazing. But even still, in that 12 weeks, you don't get to see everything in 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You don't in the ER. You don't know what's going to come in. So in that 12 weeks, I had other nurses who got codes, and in that situation, we get in there, we help them. Like I said, when everything's settled, we get to go back to our patients. But my first code on my own was I wasn't with a preceptor at the time. It was like my first week off orientation, and it was a 3-year-old who drowned. So that was like a big reality check of,
Yeah, what this job entails.
yeah, you don't get to leave the room with them. And that one was not a happy ending at all. So it was eye opening. And ever since then, like I don't like getting codes that are my patients.
Mm-hmm.
I like when other nurses get codes because, like I said, I get to run in there,
Help.
out, do whatever I got to do, and then I get to leave the room and just poke my hand there if they need help. But if you're the RN, you gotta sit. If you're your patient, you gotta sit there and chart and stick with them. So that part is a big reality check, definitely. And I've had some patients where they're fine 1 second and then all of a sudden they're crashing, and it's your heart drops into your stomach. You just gotta try to figure out what to do.
Probably the
Quick.
hard part is you only learn. I mean, people can teach you so much, but half of it you just learn from experience, huh?
More than half.
Yeah.
Nursing school in reality, which we get students now, which feels weird having students when I was just a student, but you learn basically nothing in nursing school.
Really?
What nursing school teaches you, which you talk to any RN, they tell you the same thing. You learn everything on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Nursing school, everything they taught us, literally nothing applied to real world nursing, besides the clinical hours that you put in. That's where you learn all what little you do learn is what from the clinical hours. Nursing school teaches you how to pass your state boards, and that's about it. And you go into the real world and learn how to be a nurse on the job.
What was the first week like? I mean, was it like a water hose,
In
a fire
school,
hose?
or
No, of nursing.
on my own, or is it like through my orientation?
Well, I was gonna say orientation, but I'm assuming it was way different being on your own.
It was different on my own, but thankfully, like our charge nurses are like, we have really good charge nurses, and they'll put you right across from them, so they're kind of watching you, even though you don't have a preceptor, you're on your own. They'll watch you, and my preceptors were really good about basically the first 2 weeks. They let me do a little bit. I followed them, or they were right over my shoulder, and then they kind of backed off and let me run my pod myself. But the first 2 weeks were very, very stressful. It helped being a tech. If there's any nurses listening or nursing students, get a job in the hospital, because it was a world of difference. I knew where stuff was. I knew kind of how things flowed already in the ER. I knew all the nurses. They were all our nurses are like as a tech, we're still super close and like best friends. So they were more than willing to jump in and help when I was struggling or drowning. I actually preferred to drown when I was in orientation. Like my preceptor would try to get in and help me, and I just say, no, don't. I wanted to drown because I knew they were right there behind me if I needed help. So I'd rather drown with them there than on my own. So that helped a lot, and they seem to like that attitude quite a bit. But it's just, it depends. Every day is different down there because whenever you come in, you don't know how many patients you're going to have or what you're going to have. So, but sometimes you can get slammed with three. I've got 4 patients in 15 minutes, and you have so much to get done as soon as they're there, and so you're running around in circles for a couple hours trying to get everything done, and then you got meds on top of that, new orders. So you're constantly watching your computer screen, looking for orders of what needs to be done, checking the patient for about 12 hours straight. Very little downtime at all. It's just constantly new stuff. So that part, the hardest part for me was learning time management and how to run your pod, deal with your patients, learn.
Time management was your hardest?
Yeah.
And then meds, secondly?
Meds, yeah. Being faster with my meds. Because I was pretty slow in the beginning because just, learn to draw it up, like all that stuff. You got a little practice with the nursing school, but I mean, on your own, you're nervous. You'll make sure you're doing every little thing right. And so that took it. Just you're working slower, but as you go, you obviously pick up speed. You have your own routine, and you figure it out quick.
What part of time management was hard to get down?
Like I said, you have multiple patients, so they'll all have orders, and sometimes you have to prioritize what med needs to be given first. Should I go in this patient and check him first? Check that patient next? Do I need to do these labs right now? We're talking to your doctors and figure out what they want, what they prioritize first. And sometimes you'll have multiple meds ordered, and you have 1 or 2 access points of IVs. Not every med can be ran through the same IV, so you got to prioritize what med do I need to give first before these other ones. And so usually, if I start getting overwhelmed, I'll write it all out. This patient needs these items, this patient needs this, and then I'll just sit there and look at it. Even if it's taking me a second to sit down and just look at my paper, and then from there I'll make a game plan and just go through it and try to knock it out. And usually by the time you finish that, there's a whole nother list of things to do in the meantime. And while you're doing that, you usually have your doctors coming up asking for more, other nurses asking for help. It's just a whirlwind 24/7 in there, depending on, especially on what area you're in. And then in the meantime, while you have all these things you're planning to do, you may get a new patient. There may be a code coming in that you got to go to. So it all just you got to just prioritize what needs to get done and do it as best you can. But you're only one person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, patients, it's hard when they get frustrated because you understand you want to be in their rooms more and helping them. But there's so much to do. There's charting to do that you feel like you don't get to spend as much time with your patients as you want. Because you got to go in there, get the job done, get out. Sometimes the patients just want to sit there and talk, which I would love to do, but I'm like, I always have to tell them, I'm sorry, I've got to go and check on my next patient. But
which that's kind of a bad pressure to put on you guys when you get overwhelmed with patients.
It's scary
because and I think Justin was saying the last one, like obviously he just finished nursing school, so he hasn't done it full time like you, but you want to be, I think you guys that are compassionate and actually care about the people, you do want to spend more time with them. Yeah. That's part of nursing, right? But you can't even do that.
Yeah. His world will be a little bit different as an ICU nurse because he'll have 1 or 2 patients.
Are you in ER?
I'm ER.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So his patients, once he has them, they're there to stay for a while, so he can get that bond with them, which is harder on a different spectrum because you make connections with them. Sometimes connections make it harder if you do lose them. Whereas in the ER, I'll have them for a couple hours, and either they get admitted to the hospital or they get discharged. So there's not always that time to.
Yeah, ER ain't no time.
You're not going to bond with anybody.
Yeah, that's quick move and quick pace.
Yeah,
that's a pretty active hospital too, huh? You're at pretty.
It stays
popping.
Yeah, and I know you've flown in there a bunch. I've seen you up on top.
Yeah,
and then
are you still, as far as your career goes? Have been doing this for a year nursing? Has that changed your thought process of what you originally wanted to do with your career path?
No. What changed it more is getting married. Originally before I even started nursing school or anything, I knew I wanted to go and be a flight nurse. That was my dream. the whole time I was in nursing school, I had plans to do it. Even when we were dating, I was set. And you have to put in 3 years before of critical care experience before you can even make an application to apply. But more I've talked to flight nurses come down there to the ER all the time, pick up patients. So I'll talk to them quite a bit. Some of my friends down there who still work as ER nurses are flight nurses. And the pay just is terrible. I'll take probably almost a 50% pay cut by becoming a flight nurse. And in today's time, I mean, getting married with a baby, I can't really afford to do that. I mean, I would love, if I was still single, it's still my dream. So my plans now are to switch to a different hospital after the baby's born, because it's Valley Children's and they have their own flight crew, and eventually work my way up to their helicopter crew, and because it's hospital staff that run it, so you'll still make hospital wages and being on the flight crew. That's my end goal. We'll see how long that takes. It may be pushed back a lot more than what I thought, but that's just the way the dice roll.
Would you stay in the ER when you go to that next hospital?
I'm either going to go ER or I'd like to go the pediatric ICU.
Get some ICU experience. Yeah. Well, you kind of have to move into flight, right?
ER or ICU.
Really? They're not requiring any ICU, huh?
Not required, but preferred, because a lot of it is transports, so you will pick up from the ICU or ER patients that are going to go to the ICU, a different hospital. So you really need to know your drips and be confident in them, which in ER, we do get them, but not to the extent that an ICU nurse gets. They're dealing with a lot more drips, a lot more critical thinking than...
Even in the ER?
The ER is a lot of just real quick.
Yeah.
Whereas with the ICU nurse, they have to sit there for hours and hours with that one patient, and they're monitoring. I've seen them to close to like a dozen pumps in the room, which to me, I watched that as a student, it scared me to death.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to try a little more, but it'll be different because, like I said, my sister, she's an oncology nurse there, so she takes patients to the PICU quite a bit from there, and she'll text me just some of the stories that she's seen up there, and I can't lie, I get sick to my stomach thinking about it. As well excited as well as nervous because it's a different kind of world.
Oncology is
cancer. Yeah, she's in the cancer clinic.
Man, that's some rough.
Yeah, she has some stories, very, very sad stories. But also with the kids, there's also a lot of hope because she gets to see them recover, and when they recover, they do their walk through, and everybody lines up and claps for them. It's a big old thing that, like, she'll send me videos, and I'll start crying watching them because it's a whole different world than what I'm in. Mine's more dark, I guess.
And self-inflicted.
Yeah, and whereas hers, there's a lot more hope. So.
And innocent kids, and not being one to be, didn't ask to be put in that. Yeah, kids are different, man. Kids are hard. The only time I've ever seen people crack in this industry, because like you said, everybody's hard and it's dark, is like the best word. People outside that won't understand what you said, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's very dark, and that's why the humor's dark, because people are trying to cope, you know? Otherwise, most people will crack and can't handle it if they don't, but I'm not saying that's right or wrong, because we have the Lord with us to help us deal with that and to pray and ask God for strength and also to be a hope to other people in those dark times. But kids, I've seen a lot of people quit with kids because they're innocent, Yeah,
it's a whole different vibe in the ER if a kid comes in versus an adult. I mean, obviously we work them just as hard, but you can even see with the doctors, they don't want to give up. They'll do everything they can with a kid. Even, I mean, pushing it past what, even as nurses, we're probably we're like, okay, we need to call it. We need to call it. It's time. The doctors will have, obviously it's the weight on their shoulders because once they make the call, it's done. But kids are different. Like I said, my first one as a nurse was a kid, and I think we all left the room crying. Some of the nurses, I mean, they're moms, so they have a different feeling about it than even I do. And
well, they might, and a lot of times they'll have kids their age of those kids.
I have a really, really good friend. She started as an RN just a couple months before me, and she was a new grad, no experience before that, and she didn't want to come in the room when we had the kid. Actually, thankfully she didn't have to because we had enough staff in there to where she didn't have to. But she stood on the outside and watched, and she was bawling because she had young kids too, and so obviously it tore her heart out to watch it.
Yeah.
But it's a different ball game for sure. So that part makes me nervous because, I mean, I'm sure, like you said, the nurses at Valley Children's are not hard, because I mean, you're just a little more cold to it, I guess. I'm sure they're used to it. And I'm sure over time you'll get used to it, which is good
That's
and
the
bad.
scary thing. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, there's a lot because I was telling Justin. I said we were talking about you and Cheyenne. Not really talking about you guys specifically, but just saying I was telling him that I just pray for you guys that you keep that good middle ground, because how everyone deals with that stuff is usually just I don't know how to say that, but it sounds pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You I don't know how I should say that. I don't want to sound too bad.
You have to be hard.
It's not like you're making light of it, but it kind of is, because it's how people cope, man. It's like a coping mechanism. And I'm not saying you need to do that or everyone does that, but I get it.
You see it every day.
Yeah.
At work. Like, I've heard us, it's probably, I don't know, people, like I said, don't understand. Like, we've made jokes in the middle of a code just to break the tension a little bit. And everybody will kind of chuckle, and you can feel the room change. Not that we stop working on the patient or care any less, but it just sometimes a little humor is a big weapon as well.
Yeah.
But it is very easy, especially I've only worked ER as an RN. I've never worked in other floors besides in clinicals. And the humor is dark, the jokes are dark. It's hard sometimes to keep that middle ground because, I mean, like you said, we do have our faith to lean on, but even still, it hurts still sometimes. So it's easy to fall back on the dark humor. And like I'll make a joke sometimes around, because I forget that my family, none of them really are in that industry, and I'll say something, and they're just like Colton, why are you talking like that? But to my mind, I'm so used to it. It's normal.
Yeah.
And so it's a balance that you have to. It's hard. Thankfully, like we said, we have our faith. I see a lot of nurses who run. They run to alcohol, run to a bunch of different stuff. Who are very, very hard, very cold. When they're in there with a patient, I've seen them be as warm and kind-hearted as could be. Like put on their nurse face, but when they walk out, they're hard as stone. And it's, I guess, each to their own. But I pray for all my staff, all my coworkers all the time, because I've seen some of them break like you have, and it's just sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, like I said, I kind of talked about the coping mechanism, but also the, you don't ever want to, I know you don't, I don't think any nurse does it for the right reasons. I know some do it for the money, and that's the ones I think struggle with the most. But I think a big struggle too is still having compassion and being sincere compassion when it becomes repetition and becomes like a norm. Then it's hard to, I would imagine that's hard to keep the sincere compassion.
It is. Even as a year in, it is.
Yeah.
I'll get in my groove at work, and I almost have to stop myself and just say, slow down, think about your patients, what they're going through, because they can snap at me and instantly, like I sometimes have a short fuse anyway, especially when you're busy and stressed with a bunch of stuff to do. It's easy to get irritated and want to just blow the patient off, especially if they're being difficult. But you have to make yourself slow down and just, which they try to teach you in school, to show empathy towards your patients, put yourself in their shoes, and at that time it's easier to be more empathetic towards them. But there's days where you don't feel it.
Right.
You don't really. You're there because you have to be there to do your job. We're human. We're not robots, but sometimes you feel like one.
Right.
But you kind of have to. Sometimes I've had to sit down, go back to my patients, and say, "I'm sorry. I mouthed off. I did this, and can we start again?" And there's times they've said, "You know, we're sorry too. we were rude to you, and we'll start out, and from then on, the rest of the shift, as long as I have them, we're like best friends. So you kind of just have to do your best and just put yourself in their shoes. And sometimes that goes both ways.
Yeah.
The patients have to put themselves in the nurse's shoes as well.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, both of you get to go home.
Yeah.
That's what one of my clinical instructors, he was, no matter when you seen him, he was as happy as could be. And I asked him one day, because we had to follow him one day, and I was like, why are you always in a good mood? And he was like, because I get to go home every day. He's like, they don't get to. He's like, but I do, so why shouldn't I be happy? And ever since then, it's kind of changed my perspective about it, but there's days you forget it.
Yeah.
But
I worked with a friend. His name's Neil. I've never seen somebody so happy at work and like just, and I'm like, man, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
And I do try to be happy. I could laugh more. I think everyone's different. Their character, like I'm more of a serious person.
Yeah.
And I a lot of times I don't really like that. Like I want to laugh more, and I do laugh a lot. It depends on who I'm around, right? Some people, I feel like I bring out the seriousness in some people, and some people bring out the seriousness in me, and then some people bring out the laugh in me. Like I'm around them, constantly laughing. Neil is constantly such in a good mood, happy, laughing. I mean, and I think our sense of humor was a lot the same too. I'm not saying he's the only one. I mean, all of our friends we laugh and joke with, but at work, I mean, it was nice. Like, man, it's so refreshing working with someone like that. I want to be that guy that brings that vibe. You know what I mean?
I have a hard time with that.
It's
I'm
hard.
usually quiet.
Yeah.
If I'm with my close group, then I'll be my normal self, laughing, joking, or whatever. But at work, usually I'm very quiet.
Your business.
Pretty much, yeah. Try to be professional, be very quiet. They tease me at work now because they said I'm coming out of my shell, and I can joke and tease them back. Whereas before, I was very, like, they would make a joke and I would be pretty much straight faced. That's just me. Well, I kind of switch when I go to work, but it takes time. I have a good friend there now. He's a tech, and I think he's helped me more than he knows in that area, because he goes at me all the time, and he's like a Barney who just can, once he finds something, he'll just dig it constantly, dig at it. And so now me and him all day long, we'll be play fighting all day long. We'll just make fun of each other. Yeah. So that's helped me actually with my other coworkers loosen up a little bit, which now they tell me they can start seeing a difference. Whereas before I was a lot more quiet. But I mean, a lot of the times though, being Christians in the work, sometimes you can't. Yeah. I try not to laugh.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
There's only so much I could do. But now they kind of know where I am.
Where you stand.
Where I stand. So they work around it pretty good.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It respect you to a level.
They actually, quite a bit. It's more, I've never had someone like degrade me for that in the least.
Oh,
if anything, it's always been more respect than anything.
You know what's funny is it's that's less now than it used to be. A long time ago when I was a lot younger, it was definitely more of a joke and people make fun of that. I've noticed that culture has totally changed in the United States. It's definitely, people won't talk about you and about it usually at all. No. Like I don't really ever.
They still find it like crazy. I've never drank, nothing like that. But they fully respect it and just tell me it's one of the greatest. Yeah. One thing that really came out was when me and Kimmy started dating. Obviously, they expect you to run around and do whatever. When they found out that she's the only girl I've ever dated, I'm the only guy, vice versa, that actually turned into more of a testimony than anything, because that never happens. They don't understand waiting until marriage. Nothing like that. Right. And that to them spoke volumes. And that made some of them really listen, whereas before they wouldn't. Just trying to be a witness, but they opened a lot of doors and they fully respect it. There's times now I'll walk up to a conversation and they'll stop their conversation and say, we won't talk about this in front of you. Because not because I don't really talk about it that much. Right. They respect it. And they think it's one of the best things ever. Whereas to me, I'm like, why don't you do it then? If you think it's the greatest thing ever, then live it. But they don't. Like for me, what blows my mind is that sometimes at work, but they'll put us in triage, so you got to ask a bunch of questions. One of the questions we ask is, you smoke, drink, any drugs at all? We'll put in their history. 99.9% of people say they don't drink, which to me is, it's supposed to be such a huge thing to do it 24/7. It seems like,
but no one
will admit to it when you ask them.
So they're doing it. They're just not admitting.
They won't admit to it.
Wonder why.
I'm like, but all my life,
if it's supposed to be cool, then why would they not do it?
Why don't you tell me? But they all deny it.
The patients.
Yeah, all the time.
Why?
I don't. That's what I ask. Like, why do you guys deny it when everybody promotes it 24/7? Go drink. You're 21. All this, but when I ask you, do you do it? No, I don't do it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I get them not admitting to the drugs, but I don't understand
the
that.
alcohol. I'm like, okay, I was putting their chart. They don't do it, but they tell me no, I don't drink, or they'll.
99%, you think?
Dude, most of them don't.
Wow.
It blows my mind every time I'm in triage. And then every once in a while I'll get someone say, yeah, casually. And it's like, okay, I'm not judging you for it. I'm just putting it in your chart.
Yeah, it must have something to do with them thinking private. I don't know. That is weird. That does blow my mind, actually.
As a tech it did, as a nurse it does. Still to this day, most patients will say they don't drink.
Yeah, that's weird.
But it's like,
I wonder if they think if you do, it's going to mean something else, and they just don't want to. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Weird. Well, let's end on a little bit more of a lighthearted. You got any funny duck hunting story? What's your funniest? I know it's hard to think of stuff like that on top of the. I can't even. If someone asked me that right now, I probably would take a second. But
yeah, give me a second here.
Or just wanting the funny memory in the pond. I know it's got. Ouch! That mosquito bit me, bought me with his blood. I know it has to involve Travis somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Some way.
I was going through my mind of all the ones with Travis.
Yeah, which one do I pick?
I don't know about funny, but honestly, it stands out to me the most. It was like second week in the duck season. It was end of October, maybe it was the first week of November, depending on that season. He had said, let's go to this pond. We're going to get mallards. And so me and him went out in the afternoon, and we slaughtered mallards. We shot 2 limits of drakes, and we didn't bring mosquito spray. That was back when we didn't have jack diddly. Didn't bring seats or nothing. Just, I don't know.
You carried him on your back?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. No dog, no nothing. No mosquito spray. Went back in there, and then we were just getting killed with mosquitoes. Awesome day. We loved it. I think he shot a band that day. Actually, yeah, he did shoot a band. Well, on the way out, he decides to carry the decoys. I had everything on my back, and then he just goes, here you go. He gave me all 14 ducks to put around my neck. Well, I had my gun slung across my back, my backpack, the ducks, and at the time I wasn't in the greatest shape either. So he was a freight train out there, so he just goes, and the ducks were right here. I couldn't reach up at all with my arms to get to my face. So for that whole time across the pond, I was getting destroyed with mosquitoes. And that was back when I used to do a buzz cut too. So
your whole head was getting
whole head,
pounded.
back of my head, everything. So I didn't have a hat on.
Oh, that makes me itch right now.
I couldn't get to him. I would swing my head. I would grab tulies and try to slap my head. He's gone.
Yeah, you don't even see him in sight.
And then the pond opens up probably 150 yards from the bank.
Where you can see the bank.
I can see him up on the bank, laying on the bank, has his jacket off over his head, just laying like this for who knows. He didn't get up until I got there.
Dude.
I got in the pond and just threw everything off and was just swinging. But then we had to put it back on and walk the mile plus back to the truck. Same thing all the way back to the truck.
If not 2 miles. Dude.
We still laugh to this day.
That makes my head itch, man.
I got home, and the next day I looked like I had leprosy. I think I counted
That's so unhealthy too.
I counted over 50 or 60 bites on my head, my arms.
Oh my goodness.
It was hot, so I had my sleeves rolled up.
Right. It don't even matter out there. If you had your sleeves down, you're getting pounded they'll bite right through that stuff.
I've got bit on my inner thigh.
Yes.
A mosquito. I don't.
Which waders on?
How did you get through my jacket, my waders?
Right.
My wader pants. How did you get there?
Yeah.
Like they do.
It's insane. That makes me just dread early season. Like, oh yes, duck season's here, but then you're like, mosquitoes. Here we go. You know, it's like, ugh, it's terrible. Last year not that bad with mosquitoes as I've had in past. There's some years you're just like, I don't want to be here. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, man.
Unless you get a cinnamon hunt like we did.
That was it bad that day with mosquitoes? I don't think it was it?
No, but it was early
that
season.
Day was awesome, dude.
Yeah.
What the sad part is if we would have known what we knew later, we could have shot 14 cinnamons.
Yeah,
How sick would that be?
That would have been. It was already a day for the ages, but that would have been even better.
Oh yeah, when everybody's seen that, when we did that Marco Polo and was rolling through all those cinnamons one after the other, everyone was like, "What?" Yeah, we milked that pond for about 3 weeks.
Yeah,
that was pretty epic.
It makes me miss it.
Duck hunting? Talking about this right now? I know.
When season comes, I miss it. But like I said, when I don't have a dog, I go once.
See, I know you're gonna get. I think having a kid too is gonna. That's gonna make a little bit of a. When is she due again?
December 4th.
Ooh.
So I'll be on baby bonding for the final half of the season. So
which is epic, but
we'll see how it goes.
You're gonna be home a lot too, and you're gonna be tired.
Yeah.
Especially since you'll be home.
Mm-hmm.
But are you on graveyards where you working now?
I'm day shift.
Really?
I was on nights for 2.5 years, and I switched over to day shift.
Even though you're new to nursing?
Yeah, because I was
it kind of helped you a little bit.
Tech, and when my boss just told me when I was still a tech, she knew I was in nursing school. She said, "When you get close to finishing, just come talk to me." I said, "Okay." So about 2 months before I graduated, I said, "You said to come talk to you, so just came in here." And she was like, "Okay." She's like, because actually me and another nurse, he's my same age, we both graduated same time. He passed his NCLEX about a month before me. We both went there within a couple of days of each other, and she goes, "I have like 3 positions open," and she was like, "Do you want nights?" And I said, "Honestly, not really. I just got married. I'd prefer not to have nights." And she was like, "Okay, I have a day shift position. This is for you." I was like, "Oh, thank you." And that doesn't happen.
I was gonna say
often.
for new nurses, no way, huh?
You usually go to nights.
Wow.
Our hospital is the only hospital I've heard where our night shift nurses want to be nights. They love their night shift. Most of them have been there for years and years and years. Night shift has very little turnover rate, whereas our day shift quite a bit.
Why? The patients, or like the activity, or what?
Day shift's busier. There's management there. You'll get state that'll come there. Our night shift nurses, they all like nights. No
one messes with them.
No, they do their own thing.
No.
I still, to this day, I love the night shift crew. They were all some of my best friends. Actually, a couple of them got to come in and work. They worked like a 16-hour shift, so they came in early. And just to get to work with them again was made me miss it even more. I just don't miss the toll that it took on your body.
Right.
Because you never feel
normal.
No, even on your days off.
I feel like you're in a haze all the time.
By the time you adjust, you're going back again for nights, and you readjust again.
Yeah.
So you feel
you're like in a cloud or fog all the time.
I feel like crap 24/7.
Yeah.
But
that's cool. Well, maybe after a couple weeks, because I'll tell you what, we both know you're gonna have plenty of help.
I hope. We'll see.
You know you will.
See. I think I'll be
between your mom.
I'm trying to keep the grandmothers away with a stick.
Huh?
How to keep the grandmothers away with a stick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're gonna have plenty of help.
Oh, not even just them. Even Violet tells me 24/7 she wants to be there.
That's what I'm saying. It ain't just the family. It's multiple people.
Yeah.
Aunts.
Yeah, it'll be. We'll be moving to Fresno probably beginning of next year, so
that's gonna take that help away a lot.
They'll take a lot of it away, but he'll be probably 6 months old at the time, so be a little bit older. I mean, I still have my Megan and Johnny down there as well, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
sometime next year we will be.
Yeah. Well, hopefully about a couple weeks in, you can start hammering out the good parts of the season just to be off. It's a perfect time to take baby bonding, that's for sure.
Well, I told Cammy, I said, I want to get back into it because I want to get him into it when he gets older. So I don't want to be the dad that used to hunt.
Yeah.
So I do miss it. I mean, right now I love deer hunting, archery hunting. That's kind of, I guess, where my heart is in the hunting right now. It starts next month, and I'm more than excited for it.
Yeah.
So me and Travi do that quite a bit. That's what I did last year. I went deer hunting quite a bit. But once duck season came around, I went opening day. I was super excited. I thought that was the year I was getting back into it, and then it just kind of didn't go again.
Well, it wasn't. Yeah,
but I kept hearing from everybody, it's dead, it's dead. So I was just like, well, there's no point in going.
Yeah.
And it never picked up, so I just never hunted again. Duck hunting. So I'm really, really hoping the new dog, having a baby that eventually I want to get him out there when he gets older if he wants to. So, which I'm sure with our group of guys, they will. I hope.
Yeah.
I don't think Travi will let him not. He'll be dragging his butt out there.
He'll probably be getting a JJ Lairs for his first birthday or something.
I still have the call Travi bought me when I was 13.
Which one did he get you? The
Watkins.
He had
a custom made Watkins. I still have the call.
Did you ever hunt it?
Oh yeah, a bunch. That's how it got messed up because I got timber and went duck hunting. Everybody knows how this is going to end. Went duck hunting. He was 12 weeks old. He was a pup. And then came home, wasted, brought the sled in the back. It was in my blind bag and left it because I was tired. Mm-hmm. Wasn't responsible and put it away. And I poked my head out the door and I see a puppy dragging my calls. And I was like, no. I ran out there and I had probably 5 mallard calls on my lanyard. 4 of them were cheaps. That was my one expensive. And of all the calls on my lanyard, he picked that one to chew on the end. Like it was custom made, pretty. Me and Travi designed it, and I have it in my stuff
with all the teeth marks on it.
Yeah, I still have teeth mark all over it. It still can be blown, but it's just not comfortable. Yeah. So I switched to a JJ Lairs after that. Yeah, but I still have it.
Well, don't let Travis make you feel too bad because me and Thomas got him a Lairs for his birthday and he came off, lost it. He didn't tell me for like almost a year.
Oh.
He's all, I have something to admit to you. And I was like, what? This might have been on a podcast.
He never told me.
And I don't even know if Thomas knows or maybe he does now, but we got him did we get a teal with black band?
That's cool.
And we got it at Kittle's up there in Calusa. And yeah, he was having a confession to make. And we're like, what? He's like, I'm hard to tell you guys, but somehow my lanyard, they came loose and just fell out in the pond somewhere. He never knew it until it was too late. No, I guess he knew it came off when he went to go blow it and realized it wasn't there and dug his hands into the water, tried to find it. I was like, yeah, that's hopeless. You're never going to find that. But anyways.
He told me, when the baby's 3, I'm taking it out there in the sled. I said, okay, go ahead. Kimmy just sit there and smile, but I was like, we'll probably actually be doing it.
Literally, yeah. She probably thinks he's joking and he's serious.
I remember taking Taylor out there when she couldn't walk in the ponds. We take the decoys out there and bring the sled back, take them out there in the sled.
Yeah.
Did it tons of times.
Vivian and Violet, neither one of them, they were just rowing the sled. They were too little. Well, Violet and Vivian maybe could have. I think she was 6. And I have that picture on my wall with 2 mallards in the cart, in the sled, and the tulies tucked in, the tulies you could see in the background. And I think Violet was 4.
Yeah, that's the stuff I'm excited about.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, I wish I did that more. So do as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to, even if you do too much, you'll still wish you would have did more. Yeah. So just do as much as you can. It's crazy, but anyways.
I already got him a weight set picked out and everything.
Nice. Get him yoked out. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on and taking the time to share your stories. I enjoyed it. It was a good episode. So, all right, guys. We'll see you on the next one.